I first, stepping back, read about AI in an article book by the philosopher P.R. Sarkar. And he talked about mind and technology. And that got me thinking. I read this piece in the 70s. I said, that's interesting. What does that mean? And then later, when I was a student of future studies and working at the Hawaii justice system, we started to explore what would happen if judges and attorneys started to get replaced by AI. Because much of what they do is precedence-based.
Yep.
So anything that's precedence-based, of course, an AI system can do better. But that was in the 80s, and of course, the maturity level has taken a while. Clearly, the latest decisive event was the rise of ChatGPT and then its next iterations. But I could see straight away the discussions we were having 30, 40 years ago suddenly made sense. So with international policing, we immediately talked about this is a great opportunity for the dark web, for organized crime. We need to quickly get ahead of the curve and start to look at a police ChatGPT, using AI for international policing to ensure the dark web, et cetera, doesn't use it for horrible purposes. So they understood straight away they need to get on top of this. They need to partner with big tech to develop that. I've been working with numerous schools, and immediately it became clear if what teachers do teaching the lecture can be done by the good AI system, what's their role? And in our discussions, again, it became very clear traditional teaching will change. Will it move to curating, facilitating, nurturing? We're not sure. But the traditional role of teacher can't be the same, nor will it be the same. So that's in its current evolution. What I decided to do when ChatGPT came out, I interviewed it for an article. I said, let me ask you, who are you? And I said, well, I'm whoever you want me to be. You bring your worldview and I answer questions. I said, well, what's your metaphor? And I said, well, I'm a library. I said, well, as you become global, what will your metaphor become? Well, I'll become a global library. I'll become the guy in mind. So we had this iteration process where it was learning about itself. Now, the way it's designed, though, once you close your PC, you close the conversation, it doesn't remember. So the current state is not learning from everyone, because people can teach it stupid things.
Uh-huh.
So then phase two becomes a kind of a 2.0 where it's learning, connecting, peer-to-peer, and becomes really like a global brain. So back to your particular question, clearly any field you're in, you should expect to be disrupted. And ask yourself, how can you use it wisely? And then think, what's your best use of time? What's your best use of purpose? So kind of answer one, if we start to think AI, et cetera, does the things we don't wish to do. So I'm working in rural Queensland and think, what are the things that AI could do? Well, it could make procurement more efficient. It could make, as roads start to get old, we send drones and AI figures out early prevention. How do we fix the roads? It can use to make our health better because it can figure out early diagnosis. So in terms of prevention, AI can be used whether from roads to heart. So in rural Queensland, we were thinking, okay, this can give an aging population, declining population, how can we use it to make a better society? So that's kind of world number one. It will disrupt. Let's use it for a better society. World number two goes to, yes, but AI is designed by humans. All humans have biases. They can be racist biases, sexist biases, biases that focus on humans, not nature. So then it's designing algorithms and designing AI to be far more human than we are. As in terms of better humans, more spiritual, more inclusive.
Yeah.
So I have one colleague, she was deconstructing AI programs to say, well, they're designed on one culture, civilizational history, not hers as a Black African American. So then she said, part of our next step is critical AI, moving from deconstructing to reconstructing a far more AI that's equitable. Now, part three is jobs do disappear, then what's the role of the state? Clearly, the role of good governance, anticipatory governance, transformative governance, is to develop programs to help retrain people. The old future is disappearing, the used future, if you will. Let's work together to create a novel future where your jobs are not, we shouldn't protect them, but we should support and retrain so you find a role to use AI wisely or find new areas. So in education, we talk about no change, teaching and training for jobs that don't exist. Marginal change, maybe learning a bit of English, learning some coding, but still within the current structure. Future washing, if you will. Adaptive change is saying, well, how is the world changing? Well, aging, well-being, healthcare, artificial intelligence, bioinformatics, neural technology, more connections globally, peer-to-peer. That's adaptive. We use the technologies and state responsiveness to make a more adaptive future, so we stay with the trends. We surf the web. We ride the surf. Scenario 4 is radical. But what would a world look like after jobs? If AI actually does all our jobs, what do we do with purchasing capacity? How do we find people? How do we get people to find meaning in work if work starts to disappear? So that becomes the next level. In Sarkar's world, Prout 2.0, that's essentially about a world where AI does the things we don't wish to do. We're focused on sport, emotional intelligence, play, spirituality, culture, protecting nature, and then going towards the next frontier. Always going to the next frontier, saying, where can we expand spiritually, emotionally next? So I would try to see that level of analysis, and I would try to say the disruption today is phase 1. There will be a phase 2. And that phase 2, I think, will be far more disruptive based on the experience we have currently. But of course, none of us can predict the future. It can go in different ways. Clearly, we need global ethical agreements about AI and violence, AI and war. There's a global agreements that haven't been made that need to be made. Yeah. I know in Southeast Asia, they started to move jobs back to Europe and the US because robots there were doing it. And everyone in Asia said, oh my God, it's the end of jobs as we know it. And suddenly 3 years later, Asian robots are cheaper. So the jobs have come back.
You do, right.
So this is the unpredictably of what's going to happen. But clearly right now, I think your question is perfect. How will AI evolve? What jobs will it take? How is we as humans stay ahead of the curve and keep on working with technology?